What's up, everybody? James Bushell here, and I'm back at you with another video. Today's video is a review for the newest episode of The Walking Dead entitled The Next World, Season 6, Episode 10. And also as a disclaimer, this is a spoiler-heavy review, and it will also contain one spoiler from the comic books. So I will let you know when I get to that point, and I'll tell you when I'm done. So, yeah. So to get started, this episode concentrated on just a few characters, mainly Rick, Daryl, the new guy, Jesus. A little bit of Maggie, very little bit. She was in one scene. But mostly Spencer and Michonne and some Carl and Enid. So, this episode starts out, we see a clue to what possibly might happen at the end of this episode. We see a domesticated situation with, we have Michonne, Rick, and Carl. You can see how close they are. And we see Carl, this episode occurs a few weeks after No Way Out. So we see Carl, he is adapted to his situation where he got his eye shot out. He's wearing an eye patch and he seems like he's able to function. So we have Rick and Daryl going off to getting supplies. And we see them interact. It's always good to see Rick and Daryl interact. And they come up to a gas station. And they see, because earlier Denise wanted, she asked Daryl if he sees some soda, to give it to her so she can give it to Tara as a present. So they run up to looks like a cooler of some sort with soda in it. And obviously, they're trying to get it so they can get it out because it's upside down. And we see, they also ran into a truck full of supplies in the back. And we see the new character, Jesus, his introduction. And we see how resourceful he is right off the bat as he is able to swipe Rick's keys without him realizing it right away. And he sets off a trap with firecrackers to distract them, and in which case he steals the truck and the supplies. So right away we're at odds with this character. What is he about? And I'll get to that when we get to the end of the whole situation with Jesus this episode. I'll get into some of the comic book spoilers. So we have this situation where Michonne's on guard and she sees someone walking in the woods, and then realizes, she finds out it's Spencer. Spencer is being pretty secretive on the reason why he's being out there, and Michonne is trying to, have a connection with them, trying to talk to him, and see what's wrong. And we see, Michonne's a great person for the most part. She's very, she wants everyone to be close together in this tight-knit community, and she wants everyone to be a part of it. And even though she's a layered character, she's badass, she kicks a lot of ass, she can chop people up with a sword, but she's also, a very nurturing person at the same time. At the same time, we see Carl and Enid out in the woods, and we see sort of a role reversal. We see Carl being the one being reckless and walking out in the woods, and Enid wanting to go back to Alexandria. So, I'll just kind of finish up their whole situation in the woods with both parties. Eventually, after some conversation with Michonne and Spencer, we see the real reason why Spencer was out there. We see, and earlier, Carl and Enid ran up saw a zombie out in the woods. It turns out that it was Deanna. But Enid wanted to run back home, and Carl essentially pointed her in the direction so where Spencer would run into her, because he believes that he shouldn't be the one to kill her, it should be someone that she loved. And so Spencer sees Deanna's zombified body, and they have a heartfelt moment, and Spencer ends up killing her, and they bury her next to a tree and carve D in the tree. A very, fitting moment, full of emotion. It was a touching moment, and they go back to Alexandria. So now we go back to the other part of this show, which is this character Jesus, Daryl, and Rick. We see kind of an animosity between Daryl and Jesus, and I'm assuming they're doing this now, and I'm okay, let me get to the comic book spoilers. So, been warned right now, I'm getting into the comic book spoilers, just in case you wanted the mystery of Jesus to be alive. So, yeah, comic book spoilers. Jesus is a good guy. He's a badass, and he's a good guy, and, so I think that they're gonna set up this kind of animosity between Daryl and Jesus, and eventually they'll become best friends or something like that. So that's my assumption, because they're both badasses and they kind of look alike. Oh, by the way, I want to point out that Jesus kind of looks like a skinny Khal Drogo, and I'll put a picture up for reference there. But yeah, to me, he looks like a skinny Khal Drogo. That being said, we had this situation play out where Jesus is hit up on the, they catch up to Jesus. They tie his legs up, tie his arms up, and they think they're triumphant. And once again, we see how resourceful Jesus is as he was on top of the truck. After they got back in, he got up on the top of the truck. They hear him banging on the thing when they're going towards a barn. Rick slams on his brake, Jesus falls off, and then, it was almost like the Three Stooges was happening at that point. It was kind of like, I could hear, Benny Hill playing in the background, Daryl was chasing Jesus, and Rick was driving away, and, yeah. Eventually, Rick gets out of the truck, Jesus gets in it, Daryl's punching on him, but there's a zombie coming behind Daryl, and we see Jesus, he could have done something, he could have pulled his gun out. He pulled the gun out, and he shot the zombie. He told Daryl to duck, and he shot the zombie. So yeah, we see kind of what kind of person Jesus is. Yeah, he probably didn't trust them. That's probably the rationale of what's going on. He probably didn't trust them, but I think eventually it'll all work out in the end. But anyway, the truck ends up being taken off the brake or whatever, and it rolls back. The door hits Jesus in the face, so he gets knocked out, and then ends up in the water. So their whole supply run ended up for nothing. They ended up just bringing Jesus back. They tied him up, and they bring him back to Alexandria. And they take Jesus to Denise's, and have him looked at. And then we have the scene at the end of this episode that everyone was talking about. Hashtag Rashone. We have Rick, he didn't have the toothpaste, but he brought some mints back. And we had a nice touching scene where, they're joking around and they're both sitting on the couch. And he goes to hands her the mints, and they embrace their hands. And then eventually they end up in bed. Because that's what happens when you give a lady some mints. But yeah, that being said, hashtag Rashone. I was happy. They had the Jesse situation, but I thought the show, I was thinking back season 3, season 4, that especially after Andrea died, because in the comic books Andrea and Rick are a thing, I thought maybe they'll go the Michonne route, and it looks like they're finally going to do it. So yeah, this episode was pretty good. It was a slower episode, but they always do that with after the great epic episode. So I'd give this an episode like a 7.5, 8 out of 10, something like that. The strengths was I was glad that Jesus was introduced, and the Michonne moments with Spencer were pretty nice, and I thought the weakness was kind of the Three Stooges scenario, but it was still, what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, guys, that's my review for this episode. Once again, 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Pretty vague with my, my rating, but it is what it is. I look forward to seeing more of this show, and yeah. So if you like what you saw, hit the thumbs up, share it on social media, and hit the subscribe button. I'm almost at 300, thanks to you guys. So yeah. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next time. See you later.